All right, and welcome to Field Pass. I'm Chiefs reporter BJ Kissel, coming to you from TIAA Bank Field here in Jacksonville, Florida, getting ready for the Chiefs Jaguars here in Week 1 to kick off the 2019 regular season. I am joined by former Chiefs linebacker and 10-year NFL vet, Shawn Barber. Shawn, we talked about it all week, that it was going to be a hot one down here. We know it's hot in Kansas City. It lived up to the hype. It is a warm one down here on the field. It is a storyline that we're going to have to follow.
I know you can't tell because I'm wearing my Scully, but I'm representing the kingdom to the fullest. It doesn't matter how hot it is. I'm going to create the same mentality, the same mindset all these players have. Ignore all the elements. Ignore all the outside noise. Don't be distracted. We're going to bring Chiefs Kingdom here to Jacksonville.
This guy's bringing energy all day like he's ready to get out there and play again. Another thing that we feel energy is we walked to the team hotel yesterday. The number of Chiefs fans that were in the lobby excited for when the team arrived, and I got up this morning to go to breakfast at like 8:30. They were still lined up, giving everybody, giving the chop, giving the whole deal. You can see them start trickling in here. There's a huge tailgate that we saw. We were following on the team buses. Chiefs fans, Chiefs Kingdom are well represented here in South Florida. You know they're fired up. Maybe almost as fired up as you are right now.
Not as fired up as me, but definitely fired up. You can see the King of Red, the Sea of Red has landed here. We're taking over the lower bowl. When you have a chance to see on TV, acknowledge the fan base that have made the travel here to Jacksonville to support the kingdom.
Yeah, they are excited, and I know the Chiefs players are excited. You saw them, we saw them focused earlier, and one of the storylines coming in this game that these two teams met in Week 5 of last year. The Chiefs won that game 30-14. The Chiefs remained undefeated, went to 5-0. The Jags were 3-1 coming into that game, went to 3-2, and then lost 7 straight games. Kind of derailed their season after they left Arrowhead that day. You know they haven't forgotten that game.
Yeah, they talked a lot of junk. It was on and popping. Came to Arrowhead, 3-1 team. Both teams had playoff aspirations. But after that contest, it was kind of like the Thunderdome. 2 teams entered, only 1 team left with playoff aspirations.
And both these teams today have high aspirations in the AFC. These are 2 of the most talented teams in the AFC that are expecting great seasons out of themselves. But you saw some changes from both of these teams on opposite sides of the ball. The Jaguars, completely new offense under new offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo. They've signed Nick Foles, a familiar face to Chiefs fans. And then on the Chiefs side, we've talked about it all offseason. Steve Spagnuolo, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, this entirely new defensive scheme, which takes us into the inactives today. I just left the officials meeting not too long ago. And not a lot of surprises for the Chiefs. No Reggie Ragland and no Jordan Lucas, but we see running back LaShawn McCoy will be active today. But the big one for the Jaguars, no Cam Robinson, their starting left tackle, and then Cedric Abui, their backup left tackle, is also not playing. So they're going to Will Richardson, who's a second-year player, a right tackle in college, played a little bit of right tackle, rep there, mainly a guard, and now he's having to step out and play left tackle against a guy like Frank Clark. That's something to watch in this game.
Frank Clark is like a guy at the buffet table. He's going to eat, and eat some more. We know what this means. When you see Frank Clark doing this, that means just keep calling a number. Keep sending me after that quarterback. Foles is going to have a long day trying to avoid the pass rush of one Frank Clark.
Yeah, I love it. I know we've talked about it before. The chess game, the chess game within the game, and how the Jaguars know they're going to have to protect Will Richardson on that side of the ball. So do they chip with the running back? Do they put a tight end on that side? And how do the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo counter that, knowing that they're going to try to give him a little bit of help? But my favorite quote of the week was from Frank Clark, asking about going up against a third-string left tackle. He said, he's not taking it easy on anybody. Everybody's a victim in my eyes.
Man, that's
that doesn't
classic.
Get you fired up.
That's classic Frank Clark. Everybody he goes against is a victim. He's letting it be known from day one. It doesn't matter if you haven't started since high school or if you're an all-pro coming into the game. If you line him in front of Frank Clark, he's going to eat you up.
Yep, and there are 4 familiar faces who are active for the Jaguars today. Obviously, we already talked about quarterback Nick Foles. Wide receiver Chris Conley, who got drafted by the Chiefs a few years ago in the 3rd round. He is now a member of the Jaguars, along with linebacker DJ Alexander, a top special teams guy, and then tight end James O'Shaughnessy. So those are 4 guys. You hear those names, they're going to be familiar to you. But let's get into some of the key matchups, the things to watch in this game. And I think we've talked about it all season, but it starts with quarterback Patrick Mahomes coming off the MVP season last year. How does he get his 2019 season started? What are you looking for from Patrick today?
Well, I'm looking for him to kind of turn the page from last year. Last year against the Jaguars, you would say he struggled stat-wise. But as a quarterback matures and matriculates the ball down the field, it's about getting first downs to wear out that Jaguars defense and then cap off a drive with a touchdown. You can't always use a touchdown to interception ratio as a way to grade a quarterback. Pat will be the first to tell you, he expects this year, 2019, for him to excel at the win column, not actually the touchdowns, thrown touchdowns, not passing yardage, but more so this winning drives, game-winning drives, and keeping that ball moving, keeping our offense on the field and our defense well-rested and ready to attack.
Yeah, it's easy to look at that box score. See, there was the only game he didn't throw a touchdown in, but he did throw for over 300 yards, which was the first time in 15 straight games going into that Week 5 game last year that Jags defense and that pass defense had allowed a 300-yard passer. And we thought it came out early in the week when their defensive coordinator, Todd Wash, came out and said that Jalen Ramsey is going to follow Tyreek Hill. You and I talked about it. It's not always that simple, but you know they play man-to-man. You know that it's going to be Jalen and Tyreek getting after it.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle of the Titans. Number one Pro Bowl wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, with his down-the-field speed against a ball hawk like Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's been talking a lot of trash like he did last year, but I think he's gonna come to the party ready to play this year.
Yeah, two of the other points to watch. First one, tight end Travis Kelce, 5 catches for 100 yards last year. And again, going into that game, the Jags defense had only allowed 14 catches for like 130 yards to opposing tight ends. Talking about a man defense, why is Travis Kelce so difficult to face when you're in that kind of thing?
Well, we know in man routes it's tough for defenses sometimes accounting for the slot receiver or also the tight end. And we have excellent slot receivers and tight ends. And then we have a quarterback with enough vision to get them the ball in key places. So when you play that much pressure defense, you play that man, you got to be alert for pick routes and pop routes and also some rub routes. We do all of those things very well.
Yeah, and the last point I want to bring up is Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette. This offense is built to go through him.
Yeah.
Lost a little weight in the offseason, something you had talked about. What is the challenge for the Chiefs defense in trying to slow down Fournette?
I think it's penetration, and more penetration. Even if you look back to his college days, what he doesn't do well is when you get him to make a move before he's ready. Penetration into the backfield, not allowing him to get to his first read, get head of steam build up, and get to our second and third level. If we can keep him off his balance, off his pace early on, I think we have a great day against Leonard Fournette.
It's always a storyline early in the season. How well is the team tackle? Because they don't do a lot of live during training camp, during the preseason. So one of the good signs for the Chiefs defense is, according to Pro Football Focus, they were the best tackling defense in the NFL throughout the preseason. Going up against a guy like Leonard Fournette, that is going to be important. So, Shawn, right now we're going to send it up to the radio booth to Mitch Holtis and Kendall Gammon as they talk a little Nick Foles and a little bit about what this Chiefs offense is going to face specifically on that Jags defense.
BG, I didn't suddenly just grow. I'm standing on like a foot tall box here. But I'm also reminiscent, thinking back of the discussions I had with Nick Foles when he was the Chiefs' backup quarterback. Some fabulous discussions. Andy talked about he's a great human. But at the time, he was even contemplating, did he even want to play football? And he was talking about his restaurants. But things have really changed. And one of the things, ironically, when he stepped in and had to step in as a backup quarterback to win a game against Jacksonville, that was kind of a breakthrough of thinking, well, maybe I want to stay in the game. And here's Nick Foles playing for the Jags today.
Yeah, and then that was back in, I believe, 2016 where he won a big game. And you can even make the argument that if not for bringing Nick Foles somewhat out of retirement, he wouldn't have been the Super Bowl 52 MVP, wouldn't have gotten the contract that he has here in Jacksonville. So it's amazing how things happen. But, Nick Foles presents a lot of issues for the Chiefs. There's no doubt about it. And this is a guy who is very well versed in somebody that Chiefs defense is going to have to contend with, no doubt.
And probably the biggest issue is the fact that he will not turn the ball over. Blake Bortles last year might have been the tipping point in that game in Kansas City. Remember, Patrick Mahomes arguably had his worst game against this Jaguars defense a year ago. No touchdown passes, a passer rating of 62, which seems impossible for Patrick Mahomes. But it was Bortles turning it over and Chris Jones being a one-man wrecking crew. But that leads me in to talk about and ask you about the Jacksonville defense. You can argue, last year they were thought to be the best defense in the league when the Chiefs played them. They're top 3 to 5, I would think, at least their defensive front.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Yannick Ngakoue, it's a very awkward name to say. However, his play and how he rushes the pass rusher is not awkward. That paired with Calais Campbell, who's been doing it for, I think, 11 years now, 6+ sacks in 10 straight years. I think he had 25 in the last 2 years, did Ngakoue's. These guys, they present an issue on the pass rush side of it. And not only are they good, but you've got Marcel Darius in the middle. Not a great year last year, but this is a former #1 pick, I believe, out of Alabama, came over from Buffalo, and they get pressure on the QB with only 4, and that's big because when you look at this offensive unit receiver-wise for Kansas City, you want as many D-backs back there as possible. So getting pressure on the QB with just 4, if they can do that, will go a long ways. So that's going to test Kansas City, no doubt.
Throw in Josh Allen, the rookie from
Oh,
Kentucky.
my goodness.
Summer reminded Von Miller. They looks Von Miller-ish. Then Miles Jack, who can run side
Right.
to side, a deer basically in the middle of that defense. And then the back end. People talk about Jalen Ramsey. The coach was talking to me this week about A.J. Boye. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably, this is the best combo of corners maybe in the NFL.
I think a lot of people think that. When you look at A.J. Boye, this is a guy in his 2 years at Jacksonville, came over from Houston also, I believe. He's been targeted somewhere around 52 times. He's given up 0 TDs, and he's either made or helped somebody else make 11 interceptions on that in those 2 years. So this is a guy that, I mean, Jalen Ramsey gets all the pub, and trust me, he's a great guy. But Boye, in my estimation, is maybe the more solid corner.
Yeah, and we got a half minute left here, but BG, I will tell you, I think the Chiefs can attack this team. Think about it geometrically. And Kendall, in the middle on the sides, because their safeties are young and their other linebackers other than Jack could be exploited.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, Mahomes is going to make the reads and understand pre-snap who is singled, who's doubled, and he's going to get through those progressions, and that's going to go a long way towards a Chiefs win today.
Yep, and with the heat, we're going to keep an eye and listen to that as our radio broadcast. Also going to be about the trenches. Speaking of trenches, you've got a special guest on the sideline in Tim Grunhard.
All right, thanks, Mitch. We are down here with somebody who knows a little something about what it's like to play in the trenches against some good teams, and former Chiefs, one of the best offensive linemen in franchise history, Tim Grunhard. We appreciate you joining us.
It's great to be here. It's opening day. The excitement is here. The Chief fans are piled in. Let's get some football going.
I got to ask, how much pride as a former player do you have in what this team and the expectations this team has right now, where they could go?
Well, I mean, the sky's the limit. Offensively, they have so many different weapons. They have a really nice offensive line. The quarterback is the MVP, face of the NFL. A lot of good things. Oh, by the way, we have the best tight end in the league. So defensively, we can kind of get it going, and Shawn's probably talked about it already. You know, just be consistent, make tackles, be in the right place at the right time. This could go really, really
Tim,
well.
we talked about it a little bit earlier, and you just mentioned the weapons. How can an offense use those weapons with shifts, motions, things like that to make it really tough on the Jaguars defense?
As you know, I mean, listen, when we're shifting and motion around, the linebackers and the safeties and the corners, they have to make a decision. Either they're playing zone and they're going to stay home, stay pat. If they're in man, they're going to run across. And then a lot of times you can see if a linebacker doesn't move with motion, that means he's probably going somewhere. And when you're going somewhere, an offensive lineman knows it, we can pick it up. So it's always good, a little key, little indicator by motion.
Yeah, it also keeps those guys up front, those defensive ends, honest. You want to get them thinking a little bit because those guys can get after it. We talked about it.
Hesitation in the NFL is a killer.
Yep.
You get a guy to hesitate, you win.
I want to ask two guys who are used to playing inside the box in this heat and this humidity. We talked a little bit about it earlier, and it's such a storyline we have to mention it again. Just what's the key for those guys rotating up front and conserving energy along the offensive line? Just how do you play through and how do you take care of your body in this way?
Yeah, as an offensive lineman, we don't have the luxury of coming out,
right,
during a series. So, you really have to properly hydrate. That really should have started a couple days ago, right, and I'm sure they did. The other thing is, like you said, when you get off, sit down, relax, get some oxygen, maybe get a little bit of the cool air. But you go back out and you just got to go through it. Now, Shawn and I were talking about this. You can never get prepared to play 4 quarters. Yeah. It's just a lot. Even in the preseason, back when we used to have preseasons, we didn't do 4 quarters. So in the heat, 4 quarters can be really interesting. I think the strongest team mentally will win this game.
Mental toughness is a key part of it. Let's talk about that Jaguars defense. They got some really fast linebackers, and they got a first-round draft pick, Josh Allen, who's making it a lifelong struggle for offensive linemen like you. How do you think the Chiefs offense can deal with him?
Don't forget about this guy, Ngakwe.
You got it right.
And Campbell, too. So both of those guys, you watch number 93, he'll line up at the nose tackle, he'll line up at the defensive end, he'll line up at a 3 technique. They move him around, which causes difficulties. And then Ngakwe is really fast off the edge. So this is a talented defense that underachieved last year for a lot of reasons, mostly because they got no points support. short. So I think that this could be a good year for them. Let's hope they don't get in that rhythm against us.
Yeah, but he always talks about matchups, and they play so much man defense. They don't normally face offenses that have 5 different skill guys that go out and win a one-on-one matchup. Just what kind of appreciation do you have when you sit back and see how the way that Andy Reid designs plays? Because a lot of times to the casual fan, they don't notice the shifts, the motions, and how he gets the matchup he's looking for, and how smart Mahomes is to always be able to find that.
Well, to your point, the first 15 plays are predicated on seeing how the defense is going to line up against formations and motions. So you'll see Big Red, he'll be standing on the sideline with a red pen, and he'll be marking his sheet. Okay, when we do this, they do that. And then as that progresses throughout the game, he's got answers for those looks. But yeah, you know what? The more movement, the more window dressing, the more hesitation. And once again, I'll reiterate, hesitation equals failure.
Hey, man, thanks for joining us, brother. That's the way to do it, baby.
Right.
Always good having you.
I appreciate it. Tim Grunhard, we are getting ready to watch the Chiefs take on the Jaguars. But right now, we're going to send it to Matt McMullen, who caught up with new Chief safety Tyrann Mathieu earlier this week.
Thanks, BJ. Well, I'm joined here by Chief Safety Tyrann Mathieu. And Tyrann, you only played 4 snaps in the preseason, but you've been around this league a while. You know what you're doing. Just how excited are you to get out there on the field, and how ready do you feel?
I'm just ready to tackle somebody. Truly ready to go up against somebody other than Pat Mahomes. That could be pretty difficult, but now I'm ready to roll, man. I feel like we had a great spring, really a great training camp. Obviously going against our offense, they present a lot of different challenges to us, and so just really trying to get off to a fast start Sunday.
And you're going against the Jaguars in this one, a team with a lot of new faces. They didn't play a lot of their starters in the preseason, guys like Chris Conley, a former Chief, new offensive coordinator there, and John DeFilippo. How do you go about preparing for a team with so many changes when they didn't show much in the preseason?
Yeah, I think you just try to get an idea on, who the coaches are, what they like to do. And I think in any system, any team runs, they're always going to have guys that they want to feature. I think, obviously, Fournette, they're going to try to get the ball to him early, often, and, try to get him off to a fast start. And D.D. Westbrook, Chris Conley, I think all those guys are really complement their run game. And then so we got to do a great job on the back end of really just, sticking to our guy, not giving up any big plays, and especially tackling.
And Nick Foles, the new quarterback in Jacksonville, also a former Chief. He's the big name addition. Yeah. So what kind of challenge does he present for you guys?
Well, I think it speaks for itself. I think he was a guy that, even going back to, when I played against him in the NFC West, he was in St. Louis. He was always a guy that could come in, plug in, a guy that could, possibly get you a win on game day. So he's a very quality quarterback. He has a good arm, pretty accurate for the most part. And I think in this system, he's played in it for some years now, so he has a good idea of who to get the ball to, who's open. So he's going to be playing fast. He's going to be playing quick, and we gotta match that.
Sure. Tyrann, appreciate your time. Good luck on Sunday. BJ, back to you for some fantasy football talk.
All right, thanks, Matt. We are going to talk a little fantasy football right now. We already talked about one of the storylines in Cam Robinson and Cedric Ojibwe out, and Will Richardson starting at left tackle. Hadn't played there, I believe, since high school. So sacks count for fantasy football points. What are you looking for from this Chiefs defense today?
Hey, man, great matchup for the Chiefs defense. They was a team that you could get really late in the draft. A little bit underrated, but a matchup against the Jaguars, not knowing that Frank, the victimizer, Clark, was going to be loose on a guy who hasn't played tackle since high school. Man, this should be a double-digit sack day maybe for the Chiefs defense. And also our return game. Cheetah's going to be let loose. Our man Miko Hardman. With those guys' returnability, it's a must start for the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, and you know that Steve Spagnuolo, we've talked about it, the pressure that they're going to bring. They bring it a little bit more than we've seen in the past. And a guy like Matt was just talking to, and Tyrann Mathieu, and the tendencies, all the studying that they've done, trying to get some interceptions, trying to force some fumbles and keep them out of the end zone. We saw it last year, allowed just 14 points to this Jags offense, and they had 5 turnovers in that game. Woo. But like we said, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, new situation. Now we're going to move a little bit away from just this game and talk a little global fantasy football. Right. You know, everybody at home right now is checking those inactives. They're trying to make those last-minute decisions. And you being in 10 fantasy football leagues yourself, this is a guy who knows what he's talking about. He gets into the details. And one of the guys, the biggest storyline in the NFL right now, Antonio Brown, gets out of Oakland, however that worked itself out behind the scenes. Yes. And then 5 hours later, signs with the New England Patriots. So fantasy owners that didn't panic and trade him right away, now he's with Tom Brady. How do you feel about the whole Antonio Brown situation from a fantasy perspective?
For a season long, Tom Brady, thumbs up. He was the guy who got drafted around top 10 overall. But with AB joining that lineup, with him, Gordon, and Edelman, you got to believe that Tom Brady is now a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. And then we talk about what does that do to the guys that AB left behind at the Raiders. Terrell Williams, Josh Jacobs. Those guys actually are trending up now. More carries, more targets for both of those guys.
And Hunter Renfrow. Do not forget about our guy Hunter Renfrow.
Mr. Clemson.
He goes out and scores touchdowns in national championship games in the clutch. You got to think that he can go out there and Derek Carr can find him out of the slot.
Yeah, but then, the rest of the Patriots, you might have to downgrade them a little bit. The rest of the wide receivers and the running back for the Patriots, all of those have to share targets now with a guy that demands at least 10 to 15 targets a game. So you gotta kind of temper your favoritism when it comes to everybody else in the Patriots' way.
All right, now we do a little deep sleepers.
Deep sleepers.
You were excited. We talked about this during the week. This guy was so excited. He ran off for about 25 minutes on all the deep sleepers. He got into the depth of the 4th and 5th cornerbacks and defensive tendencies and coaches play calling, like the whole deal. Deep sleepers. The first one I want to ask you about, wide receiver Marvin Jones. Why do you like him this week?
Marvin Jones, he has a great matchup. As you know, the Arizona Cardinals are missing a lot of key secondary players due to suspension. So if you have a chance to get Marvin Jones, he went undrafted in so many drafts. That's a guy you can pick up right now and start him as your flex receiver.
Yeah. And you got a little speedy running back in Justice Hill. What do you like about his matchup this week?
Justice Hill, the Ravens they have a chance to get out to a big league early. And whenever you have a young running back behind a Mark Ingram, they're going to probably want to save Mark Ingram a little bit. He'll get some early carries, but as Lamar and the Ravens offense started to take control of that game, I see Hill being the guy they started to feature throughout the last quarter, second half, and he should have a big fantasy day.
And one of my favorite nuggets that you provided during our meeting this week, why do you like tight end Delaney Walker and the play calling of why his name could get dialed up in the red zone?
Delaney Walker, his new offensive coordinator is his former tight end coach. Tight end coach becomes offensive coordinator. That's called red zone magic. Delaney Walker's number will be called early and often when the Titans get to the red zone, and that could happen a lot today.
And there's only a few marquee elite tight ends when you talk fantasy-wise. The Chiefs have one of them in Travis Kelce, but any little nugget that you can get, anything you can get to be a little bit better, and a nugget like that on Delaney Walker is a great one. And finally, why do you like Kirk Cousins, the Vikings quarterback, this week?
Now, Kirk Cousins might be missing Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs dealing with a hamstring, but he has one of the best receivers when you talk about PPR, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is going to get off against their opponents today. Big yardage. Kirk Cousins, he's a guy that was available in the 11th, 12th round in most of the leagues. I picked him up late and actually started him this week in 5 of my leagues over Aaron Rodgers.
There you have it. Deep sleepers, fantasy impact in this game. Antonio Brown, we're covering everything right now. Before we wrap it up, we talk a little expectations. We talked about it early in the show. These are two of the best teams in the entire AFC, and they want to get off to a good start today. Andy Reid is used to getting off to good starts in his career. 5-1 with the Chiefs since 2013 when he first took over as head coach. His first win was right here in Jacksonville back in 2013, 28-2. They won that game. I know you're fired up to get started. What is your last message before we get to kickoff here?
Hey, the offense is going to hit where they left off. They're going to keep it rolling on offense, score every other drive, and the defense is going to show you something new. Coach Spags is back in the building. Chiefs Kingdom, let's get ready to go.
Keep those drinks cold, get your food warm, and we will catch you after the game on Chiefs Rewind. Shawn Barber and Mitch Holtis will break down the entire thing. You'll hear from Coach Reid, Patrick Mahomes, the whole deal, any access that you can't find anywhere else. We appreciate you tuning in to Field Pass. Let's get started on a good note here, Chiefs Kingdom.